when he looked back, Chris was not there anymore. He was just gone, vanished, without a sound, without a trace.
He walks into their lives, and within 2 or 3 weeks, he walks out again with bags of money. Like literally bags of money.
How does this happen? How does anyone vanish without a trace, let alone a district attorney?
These are 5 of the most mysterious disappearances ever recorded. Number 1 will send chills down your spine. A young man from Columbus, Georgia is working in the woods. One of his co-workers looks away from him. When he looks back, there's no trace of him, and the only thing he's left behind are his boots.
Christopher Tompkins was last seen January of 2002 walking away from a survey job in a wooded area of Highway 85 in Ellerslie.
This is the official story told by Christopher Tompkins' co-workers. However, this account of the events has raised more than one eyebrow.
And one of the problems with this story is that almost nothing is available about the actual events of that day, and all of it comes from Chris's co-workers.
Chris was part of a 4-man crew whose task was to check out some land between Warm Springs Road and Georgia Route 85. They were walking in a line about 50 feet apart from each other. The co-worker closest to Chris says he could see him, but after looking away for a second, he no longer could.
And when he looked back, Chris was not there anymore. He was just gone, vanished, without a sound, without a trace.
Chris's co-workers said he must have suddenly walked away, a story that was accepted by the local police department. But how could someone completely vanish in such a small patch of woods?
We're talking about a spot that is wilderness, yes, but it's at most 4 miles long and only 2,000 feet wide. It's just between 2 state roads.
What's more, after Chris's family combed the area for several hours, they found one of his boots and a piece of blue fiber stuck in a barbed wire fence, which didn't match the explanation that Chris had simply walked away.
The Harris County Sheriff's Department, Sheriff Johnson, told us that they believed Chris had just walked away. I said, if a man gonna walk away, he wouldn't take off his boot to do so.
To add to the puzzle, Chris's other boot was found months later on somebody's property several miles away.
So are we to believe that Chris took off one boot at the site, climbed through a barbed wire fence, walked several miles with only one shoe, then took off the other boot and continued walking?
Many theories emerged to try to explain Chris's disappearance. Some involved supernatural causes, such as UFOs or Bigfoot. Others, more realistically, suggest foul play on the part of his co-workers was involved. But some propose even darker explanations.
Christopher had seen something out there that he was not supposed to and was silenced by some mysterious party, with the authorities in on it all.
Valentine's Day of 2000 turned into a nightmare for a family from Shelby, North Carolina, when it became the last day they ever saw little Asha Degree alive. That morning, Asha's mother was preparing a bath for her children. However, when she went to wake them up, she realized Asha's bed was empty.
She assumed she had simply gotten herself up, but after realizing she wasn't downstairs and that her book bag and house key were gone, she started to panic.
Asha wasn't with a neighbor, and neither her grandmother nor her aunt had seen her. The house's door couldn't be opened from the outside without a key, and there were no signs that they had been forced. There was only one logical explanation.
In the middle of the night, a 9-year-old girl walked away from her home and vanished.
But why would a healthy and happy 9-year-old decide to run away in foul weather and in the middle of the night?
After checking the house, it appeared she had taken some candy, clothes, paper and pencils along with her book bag.
Sniffer dogs were unable to pick up a scent. After Asha's face was shown on the news, 2 people reported seeing a little girl walking alone along the highway that night, but they couldn't see where she was headed. Volunteers searched the vicinity relentlessly, and finally, they made a puzzling discovery. Inside a shed located nearby an upholstery business, they found wrappers that matched the candy Asha had taken with her, as well as a Minnie Mouse hairbow and a marker pen that Asha's family confirmed to be hers. But there was one item the family was unable to explain, a picture of a little girl.
They had never seen the photograph before, nor did they recognize the little girl.
The months went by, and Asha's trail grew cold. More than a year later, a contractor was doing work on a driveway along Highway 18. While digging up the ground, he found something shocking.
It was a beige and black book bag with the name Asha Degree written in it, alongside a phone number.
This was the last clue related to Asha's mysterious disappearance that was found. That is, until 2016, more than a decade and a half later.
Investigators got a tip that someone who looked like Asha may have gotten into a green car like this along the same highway where she was last seen.
Some theories say Asha could have wanted to mimic a book she was reading in school, where a boy embarks on an adventure in the middle of the night. Others proposed Asha may have been groomed by a predator posing as the girl in the photograph. What really happened to her, we may never know.
The billboard still stands where Asha had last been seen running into the woods.
On the 8th of July, 2014, a German tourist at the Varna airport in Bulgaria suddenly dropped his suitcase and sprinted away. He reached a fence, which he climbed over and ran into the woods, never to be seen again.
This is the last confirmed sighting of Lars Mittank.
Lars Mittank was on holiday with 4 friends, relaxing, drinking, and partying together. Until one night, Lars got into an argument with other German tourists at a bar over a football match.
Lars was a passionate Bremen fan, while the 4 German tourists he encountered were fans of the rival Bayern Munich.
The conflict de-escalated before it turned into a fight, and each group went their separate ways. While heading back to the hotel, Lars's friends decided to stop to get some McDonald's, but Lars, who disliked unhealthy food, decided to continue without them.
Not long after leaving the group, Lars is attacked and beaten by a gang of either Russians or Bulgarians.
Lars was punched in the side of the head, which resulted in an injured jaw and a ruptured eardrum. After visiting a local hospital, Lars was given antibiotics to prevent infection and was told he could not fly until a few days had passed, or his eardrum could suffer irreversible damage due to altitude.
Lars implores everyone to fly home without him, saying he'll find a way back to Germany after treatment via travel insurance.
In the days that follow, Lars's behavior became erratic. He started calling his mother in terror, saying there was a group of people stalking him and he feared they might kill him. On the day Lars was set to fly back home, his mother prompted him to visit the airport doctor before flying to make sure everything was okay.
Dr. Kosta Kostov was on duty that day, and when Lars arrived at his office, the doctor noticed that he was behaving oddly, almost as though nervous or paranoid.
Other than that, the doctor didn't find anything wrong with Lars's health. Right after the consultation, Lars ran away and disappeared forever. A search for his body was conducted, but no trace of Lars was ever found. Some theorized he was killed or kidnapped, while others suggested the injury he sustained during the fight might have caused hallucinations or even memory loss. Over the years, some people have claimed to see Lars still alive years after he vanished.
Like this man found with no documentation and no memory of his past in Brazil.
However, none of the sightings turned out to be Lars, and his heartbroken family has, to this day, not given up hope.
There is no proof that he is dead, and hope must linger if we are to bring him home safe and sound.
District Attorney Ray Gricar was nearing the end of his accomplished career when he mysteriously disappeared on April 15, 2005, after going for a drive in his beloved red Mini Cooper.
How does this happen? How does anyone vanish without a trace, let alone a district attorney?
Gricar, who'd spent most of his life prosecuting and getting criminals in jail, had called his girlfriend that morning to tell her he was enjoying a long drive and he would be home late. That night, however, after 3 hours of unreturned phone calls, she worriedly called the police.
She assumed that he had been involved in an automobile accident.
Gricar's Mini Cooper was found abandoned near a park by a bridge going over a river, a scene eerily similar to that of his brother Roy's death 9 years earlier, who had taken his own life. Fearing Gricar might have done the same, a search was deployed to find his body in the river. So what had happened to Gricar? Evidence found in his car only helped make the mystery more baffling.
Forensic technicians noticed the distinct smell of cigarettes when they entered the vehicle.
In addition, ash was found on the car's floor. This was significant because Gricar hated cigarettes, which implied he might have met up with someone right before his death, making some believe Gricar may have been murdered. And after a lifetime of incarcerating criminals, there were certainly many who may have wanted Gricar dead. That summer, Gricar's badly damaged computer was found in the river. Its hard drive had been removed.
It was intentionally removed from the computer. It's just hard drives don't fall out of computers.
This could have reinforced the murder theory had it not been for Gricar's home computer search history, which seemed to point at Gricar destroying his own computer before dying.
What does water damage do to a hard drive? How to fry a hard drive?
The fact that Gricar's body was never found led some to theorize he may have started a new life, perhaps in Central Europe.
He was fluent in Slovenian and his Russian was pretty good. He also had relatives in Slovenia and had visited there a few times.
Whether Gricar took his own life, was killed by an old enemy, or started from scratch in a remote place may forever remain a mystery.
Frankly, at this point in time, I don't think we'll ever find out what happened.
Sally Layden has spent the last 27 years on a mission to find her mother, who mysteriously vanished during a trip abroad in 1997.
Lived my whole adult life without my mum.
Marion Barter was a 51-year-old primary school teacher in the Southport School in Queensland, Australia. In 1997, she quit her job, sold her house, and announced to her family that she was going to travel around Europe.
Well, she said to me, I want to go overseas and I want to actually, go on a holiday.
Before her trip began, her daughter Sally saw her at a gas station with a stranger on the passenger's seat next to her.
And she's opened the door, she's standing there at the car like she's about to put petrol in, gets back in the car and drives off.
When Marion saw her daughter, however, she froze. Sally had no idea what had just happened, but she thought nothing of it.
And I just knew straight away something was wrong because she would never miss a birthday.
Marion was last seen at a bus stop in Queensland, ready to begin her trip. She regularly phoned home from Europe and sent postcards, until one day, she stopped contacting her family.
Marion had signed her passenger card as Florabella Natalia Marion Remakel. In fact, she'd legally changed her name to that just 1 month prior to leaving Australia.
She even failed to call for her son's birthday. Sally contacted her mother's bank and airline company and began to make strange discoveries. Sally got the police involved, but after a short investigation, they gave Sally a shocking piece of news.
We found your mother, and she doesn't want anyone to know where she is or what she's doing.
Sally was left in shambles for years to come after her mother inexplicably cut all ties with her family.
And when faced with a puzzle that seems impossible to solve, the internet did what the internet does best, and they tried to solve it.
More than 20 years later, a Freedom of Information officer heard about Marion's case and turned it into a podcast that became a huge hit. One listener in particular thought she had seen the name Remakel somewhere. She couldn't get it off her mind until she finally found a 1994 Lonely Hearts ad of a man searching for a relationship.
And the ad was signed Fernand Nicolas Remakel.
Thanks to this clue, a man with this name was tracked down and confronted by investigators.
Sag je de Fernand we're looking for?
Dat is je conclusie, so. Fernand, sag je not the Fernand we're looking for?
Could Marion have run away with this man 2 decades earlier? He was not the man they were after, but he knew just who that man was.
It led them to Rick Blum, a man Remakel had cause to hate, in part because in the late 1980s, Blum had stolen his identity.
Not only that, but Blum had seduced and had an affair with the real Remakel's wife.
He walks into their lives, and within 2 or 3 weeks, he walks out again with bags of money. Like literally bags of money.
In fact, Rick Blum had changed his name time and time again to lure a long string of vulnerable women into running away with him, promising an exciting and romantic adventure and convincing them to give him their money to invest it in their life together before disappearing once again.
He said they had a relationship in 1997, but Marion was a sex addict and her needs had killed the relationship, so he called it off.
Blum, now an 80-year-old man, was arrested and questioned. He denied at first knowing Marion at all, but ended up admitting to having an affair with her. Thanks to the podcast and to internet sleuths, Sally finally heard something she has deep down known for more than 2 decades.
Coroner's just told me officially my mum's deceased. So that's the first time I've heard that in 27 years.
However, the question of what happened to Marion Barter remains unanswered to this day, and her daughter Sally is as determined to find out as she's been for the last 27 years.
It just doesn't stop just because we got an answer today from the coroner.
Thanks for watching this episode of Crime 101. Any story in particular that we missed out? Let us know in the comments, and we hope to see you next time.